Artur Beterbiev, the Chechen wolf, the undisputed king of the light heavyweights, the definition of a knockout artist. He looks like he's come down a mountain and he's ready to kill someone. But what makes this Russian powerhouse stand out in a division full of talent? In this video, we're going to be diving deep into each of Beterbiev's key fights, starting with his early knockout of a former IBF champion Tavoris Cloud to his most recent historic victory over Demitri Bival. We'll analyse each opponent's skill level and Beterbiev's performance in every fight, then give him a final score. But first, let's take a look where it all began, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Don't get me wrong, I know he was a great amateur, I know he fought Alexander Usyk, I know he won loads of titles, but as far as I'm concerned, this is where it all began, against Tavoris Cloud. Cloud was a former IBF light heavyweight champion. He was coming off a damaging stoppage defeat against Adonis Stevenson, and he was probably past his prime. However, he'd never been dropped, and he had beaten world-class operators like Clinton Woods, Julio Gonzalez, and Glenn Johnson. In the fight, Beterbiev absolutely dominated Cloud. I remember seeing the result and thinking, wow, this guy must be an absolute killer. So I went and saw the fight, and yeah, he was. Beterbiev knocked him down multiple times before finishing him in the second round. Cloud's durability and experience make this a massive early statement in Beterbiev's career. Fight 2 on our list, Gabriel Celio. Celio was a former world champion. He was tough, he was experienced. Like Cloud, who's past his prime, but he was still a very talented fighter. Beterbiev, however, dominated him from the start, knocking him down late in the first round and eventually finishing him in the fourth with a brutal knockout punch. Another display of power and control from the Chechen wolf. In his next fight, Beterbiev squared off against Alexander Johnson. This was a step down for Beterbiev. Johnson's most notable fight was a clear points loss to contender and future champion Yarde Alvarez. Johnson was decent, a mid-tier light heavyweight with a respectable record, but he didn't have the skill set to trouble a world-class fighter like Beterbiev, and he was just a stepping stone. To the surprise of no one, Beterbiev dominated the fight. He knocked Johnson down twice in the fifth, before finishing him in the seventh with a powerful combination. The performance showed Beterbiev's trademark relentless pressure and power. As he consistently broke down Johnson, he showed his ability to maintain the pace, press the action, and close the fights in the later rounds. In short, he got the job done. Next up on the list was Ezekiel Medina. You don't get many Ezekiels, do you? We should have more. Medina was a fighter from Argentina with a respectable record, but he wasn't world class, and he was a limited sort, just a bit of a rough and tumble type. Beterbiev dominated from the start, dropped Medina 4 times over the course of the fight before stopping him in the fourth round. The fight was another clear display of Beterbiev's raw power and his ability to close the distance and land those heavy shots of his, but he didn't really have anything to beat here. The poor opposition continued, as in his next fight he squares off against Isidro Prito, something like that. It doesn't really matter what his name was. This guy had a decent record, but he lost to Yarde Alvarez. It was another mismatch. Beterbiev completely overwhelmed Prito, stopping him in the very first round, just to blow out this one. Beterbiev landed a barrage of punches that left Prito unable to continue. Nothing more to say about this one, we need some competition. Next up we have Enrio Cheng. Cheng was a skilled technical fighter, another unknown. He was known for his durability and defensive style, however he was nowhere near elite. He lacked knockout power and no real offensive threat to trouble someone like Beterbiev. Cheng's main strength was his ability to survive rounds and to frustrate opponents with his cautious and defensive approach. So Beterbiev dominated the fight, controlled the pace and walked Cheng down throughout, but Cheng's defensive style just made the fight slow and less action than your typical Beterbiev bout. Still, Artur scored 2 knockdowns and won the fight in the 12th round. Finally a decent fighter, finally a threat, Callum Johnson. Johnson was a hard-hitting, top-ranked British fighter, and he was coming off a one-round destruction job over Frank Buglioni. He was a legitimate threat because of his power, specifically his beautiful left hook. And that left hook came into play as it dropped Beterbiev, but Beterbiev showed resilience by coming back from being knocked down to stop Johnson in the 4th round. His ability to weather the storm and deliver a knockout highlighted both his toughness and his power against a real puncher. Next up, it's Riki Kadzik. Kadzik is an underrated, solid contender with a decent record. Known for his toughness and offensive abilities, he would go on to stop former contenders Sullivan Barrera, and he went the distance with current top prospect Cuba's David Morrell. Beterbiev delivered a commanding performance. He showcased his trademark power and relentless pressure, but he was hit a lot more than we're accustomed to seeing. Still, Beterbiev walked through the shots, knocked Kadzik down multiple times and eventually finished him in the 5th round. Kadzik had some moments when he tried to exchange with Beterbiev, but Beterbiev's superior strength and accuracy overwhelmed him. And now it's the big one for the world title against linear champion Alexander Godzik. The Nail Godzik had won the WBC light heavyweight championship when he ended the career of Adonis Stevenson. He was an elite boxer with technical skill, footwork and punching power. This was by far the toughest test of Beterbiev's career up to this stage, and the Chechen Wolf rose to the occasion. Beterbiev wore Godzik down over the course of the fight, eventually stopping him in the 10th round. It was a clinical performance where Beterbiev showcased his ability to break down a highly skilled fighter and unify two world titles. Beterbiev's next fight was a stay-busy one. The Chechen Wolf controlled the fight, and he gradually wore Dines down before finishing with a brutal left hook in the 10th round. It was a dominant and clinical performance, but at this stage, I thought Beterbiev was there for the taking. I was not impressed with this performance at all, although retrospectively, Beterbiev did a very professional job, and he did what was required to beat the man in front of him. A much tougher fight followed when he squared off against Marcus Brown. Brown was a definite top 10 ranked contender, a former WBA interim light heavyweight champion with a big win over Badou Jack. Talented and athletic, the contest would prove to be a tough one. Beterbiev was cut for in a clash of heads, but his relentless pressure and power wore down the talented but defensively vulnerable Brown in 9 rounds. Beterbiev's toughness and relentlessness were on full display in this one, folks. It was back to unification fights for Beterbiev as he squared off against Joe Smith Jr. in his next fight. Smith Jr. was the WBO light heavyweight champion. He was known for his toughness and punching power. He had beaten notable fighters like Bernard Hopkins and Eldie Alvarez. He was noted for his physical strength, durability and punch power. But Beterbiev absolutely dominated Smith, knocking him down multiple times in just 2 rounds. The fight highlighted Beterbiev's efficiency and power at an elite level. Smith had never been hit like this before, and Beterbiev unified 3 light heavyweight championships. The next fight would be an absolute war, as he squared off against another Brit, Anthony Yarde. Yarde is a strong, flashy, explosive fighter. He'd previously fought for the world title against Sergey Kovalev, but he was inexperienced and he still nearly won the fight. 2 fights with Lyndon Arthur had shown the best and worst of Yarde. He slept walk through the first fight and lost on points, but then turned up for the rematch and destroyed Arthur in 6 rounds. The question was which Yarde would turn up, the world-class version or the sleepy one. Luckily for us, we got the motivated Anthony Yarde, and it led to one of the fights of the year. Beterbiev stopped Yarde in 8 rounds after an absolute war of attrition. He showcased that ability to adapt against a man with both speed and power, and eventually broke him down. Very solid performance against a really talented fighter who was on great form. Then came Callum Smith. Smith was an elite level fighter, having been the WBA super middleweight champion and winning the World Boxing Super Series. Known for his height, reach, boxing IQ and explosive power, Smith had moved up to light heavyweights and scored some chilling knockouts. Many fight fans thought that he could defeat Beterbiev. I thought he certainly had a great chance, as he seemed to have the power, the physicality and skills to really present a challenge to Beterbiev. However, the Wolf just stepped up his game. He systematically broke down Smith, using pressure, beautiful infighting and landing heavy shots. Despite Smith's technical ability and reach advantage, Beterbiev was able to neutralise those factors with his relentless forward movement and superior power. Beterbiev stopped Smith in the 7th round and showcased his ability to adjust to a high-level boxer and impose his own will. The performance reinforced Beterbiev's reputation as one of the most dangerous punchers in the division, even against a top-level fighter like Smith. And then came the big one, the victory over Demitri Bival. Bivol was considered to be one of the top fighters pound for pound in the world, especially after his win over Canelo Alvarez. His technical skill, defense and ability to outbox opponents made him Beterbiev's most skilled opponent. The contest was extremely close. Bivol outboxed Beterbiev in the early rounds. Beterbiev pushed his way into the fight with his pressure and body shots in the middle rounds. Bivol opened up with combinations in the 7th, only to be hurt as he went looking for Beterbiev. Beterbiev carried the 8th as well, only for Bivol to come back with beautiful boxing in the 9th. Beterbiev seemed to take over the fight in the 10th. He hurt Bivol in the 11th and seemed to shade the 12th round, en route to a highly debatable split decision. An A-star performance against an A-star fighter. Absolutely legendary stuff. So we've looked at his fights, we've looked at his career. Let's summarise how good Artur Beterbiev is. Power. Beterbiev is renowned for his incredible knockout power, knocking out fighters like Callum Johnson, Godzik, Joe Smith Jr. It's got to be an A+ on this one. Technical skills. Although Beterbiev is known for his power, he is highly skilled. His infighting is absolutely beautiful. He uses effective pressure, excellent shot selection, and combines power with precision. We're giving him an A on this one. Toughness and durability. Watch Beterbiev trade bombs with the likes of Callum Johnson and Anthony Yarde and tell me that this guy ain't tough. He looks like a caveman when he's fully bearded, and he's as tough as one. We're giving him an A on that one. Experience. As well as all the pro experience that we've just harped on about, Beterbiev had an extensive and successful amateur career, competing in 2 Olympics and winning the 2009 World Championship. As a pro, he's beat the likes of Godzik, Joe Smith Jr., Demitri Bival, Callum Smith, the list goes on and on. A star. Ring IQ, I'm scoring him an A on this one. He knows when to pick up the pace, he knows how to control a fight, he's a very, very smart fighter. He can make adjustments to various styles, he maintains constant pressure, and his ability to pace his aggression and choose when to unleash his power makes him a smart and very dangerous fighter. Physical attributes, this has got to be an A. As I've mentioned previously, he looks like he's a caveman, and he's physically strong, he's durable, and he's relentless in the ring. I can't believe he's 39 years old. I'm a year older, and I cannot believe he's still competing at this level. It's almost unheard of. His ability to maintain a high work rate over multiple rounds, combined with his power and physical strength, make him a physically dominant fighter. He also has a good chin and the heart of a lion. Overall ranking, it's got to be an A+. Beterbiev is the best light heavyweight on the planet right now, and one of the best fighters pound for pound, and he's heading to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest light heavyweights in history. His mix of power, skill and toughness places him at the top of the sport. While age and injuries, such as recent jaw surgery and meniscus issues, have slightly affected his future, and at 39 he surely can't go on much longer. His legacy as a power-punching, technically sound fighter is cemented. He's an absolute legend. So, fight fans, how do you rank the Chechen Wolf? And how did you score his fight with Bivol? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And join us over on Patreon for more uncut content. Thank you, fight fans. And let me know who you want me to have a look at next.